Hello, and welcome to the Love Your Work Life podcast. I'm your host, Elissa Shuck. Whether you're going for that next promotion, looking for a job, or making a career pivot, I'll teach you how to navigate it all so you can have the career you want.
Welcome to the Love Your Work Life podcast, episode 25.
I often refer to a job search as a big, giant soup of ambiguity. And if you've ever been unemployed for any length of time, I think you probably understand what I'm talking about. Because suddenly you find yourself in a situation where there's no routine anymore. You are starting to lose track of what day it is. I was joking around with a client the other day that, hey, at least in fall, we kind of get a sense of when Monday is because Sunday is football day. So even football on Sundays can ground you a little bit. But this isn't unusual to feel this way, to just feel like you're floating and directionless and need something to help you tether yourself to the ground. And so I want to talk today about how to do that, to give you some tips and ideas and even thoughts that you can adopt for yourself that will help you stay more grounded in your job search, particularly if you are unemployed. But I'm also going to give you a few tips for those of you who are currently employed and layering in a job search on top of that because you are trying to get out of a negative situation or you're anticipating your role being eliminated and you're planning ahead for that and looking. So let's first talk about the unemployed scenario where you may have heard that if you're unemployed, then your job search becomes your full-time job. And theoretically, I do tend to agree with that, but I also want to put in this caveat, and that is many times we look at our full-time jobs, particularly if you're looking back on it with a bit of negativity or pain or resentment, that we look at our full-time jobs as something that sucks the life out of us, that, we spent 50, 60 hours a week in that job. So it's not helpful to think of your job search like a full-time job when you didn't like your full-time job or when your full-time job demanded so much of you. So I want you to be a curious watcher of your brain when it comes to thinking that way about your job search. What does work is thinking about the structures and the way you stayed organized and the tools and resources you used to navigate your full-time job and bringing those over, transplanting those over into your job search. Here's what I mean. If you lived and died by Excel spreadsheets in your previous role, then by all means, jump into Excel spreadsheets. Get yourself organized. You are Project You. So whatever you did to manage projects, tasks, duties, responsibilities in your previous role, put on that same hat for yourself. It feels so good and it feels so familiar and comfortable when you start using those tools in your job search. And again, like I said, it can be anything you want. If you, whatever your calendaring habits were, use your calendar again. I know I've had roles where basically my entire day was meeting after meeting after meeting. And maybe you don't have interviews yet, but you will get them and they will become part of your calendar. But in the meantime, if you are used to just going from meeting to meeting to meeting, then calendar events for yourself. Maybe you spend the morning on LinkedIn looking for jobs. Maybe you spend a little bit of time focused on reaching out to recruiters and hiring managers. Don't make it this one big giant task. Break it up into those bite-sized chunks so that when you look at your calendar, it looks very similar to what you were used to seeing at your previous role, and then do what you always did, obey your calendar. When you were supposed to show up for a meeting, it most likely wasn't optional. So don't make these things about your job search optional. Get your strategy together, get it on your calendar, and obey your calendar. And then use those tools to manage it, to track it, just like you would in your previous role. So now let's talk about those of you who are looking for a job while having a job, and maybe even a very demanding job. What I highly recommend, again, is that you find your spots to calendar your events, to calendar your job search activity. Whatever you feel is most productive, then that's your spot. So pay very close attention. If you are an early morning person, then add 30 minutes to your early morning start just to get 30 minutes in of reaching out to recruiters or following up with your thank you emails or tracking where you are in your job search. If you're a night person, then do it at night. When you are currently working and also job searching, it's a little bit of an entrepreneurial mindset. It's a little bit of a side gig mindset. So instead of thinking about it as, oh my gosh, this is something I have to do because I've got to get out of this job, change up the thoughts a little bit. And just like a side gig is something that you look forward to, it could be a hobby, it could be just a new way to express yourself, your creativity, or help others. You can actually take that side gig entrepreneurial mentality on for your job search. Another great trick I learned was back when I was doing art and I was invited to do a one-woman show, and I was working full-time in retail, which, as you might imagine, had very demanding hours. But I had to find the time to get in my creation time, creating pieces of art for this show. And I think I had like 9 months to do it. And I had my goal for how many pieces I wanted to do. And it was super easy to slip into the habit of getting home from work, chilling out, and telling myself, I really just need to get some rest. I really just need to relax before I can get into my art. But here's what I learned from the author Julia Cameron, is you can actually look at those extracurricular activities as rest, as relaxation. When you're thinking about what you're moving toward, I know you've heard me talk about this before, but when you think about what you're moving toward, instead of what you're running away from, you start to get a better sense of motivation. You start to create better thoughts for yourself. So instead of thinking, oh my gosh, I don't have time, I'm so exhausted, I don't know how I'm going to do this job search tonight, of course you're going to feel exhausted. Let's just say it. Your results align with your thoughts. So when your thought is, I'm exhausted, I don't know how I'm going to do this, guess what? Your brain is going to serve up for you a result of you don't know how to do it, and your mind is blocked, and you don't know how to take the action, and therefore you don't create the results. So instead of that, start thinking, wow, I get to spend some time searching for my new job. This is going to be great. I can't wait to see what kind of opportunities have popped up on LinkedIn today. It really does start with how you think. And I don't want you to underestimate that, because I know maybe on the surface it sounds a little trite, and it might sound a little positive thinker, guru, woo-woo stuff. But it's not that. It's brain physiology. And the one thing you can control is your thoughts. And when you control your thoughts, you'll find things like your time are also aligned in such a way that you can be way more effective, way more productive, and get just plain better results. So find those little spots. I remember pulling into a grocery store parking lot to do an interview. I was on my lunch break. I ran in, I grabbed something, I pulled over headed back towards work and put myself into a spot where I could sit and have a conversation. And look, you can do it too. So find your spots. Don't underestimate how much you can get done in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. You all know that I'm a big proponent of not applying to jobs online, to really leveraging your network and building your network with direct outreach to recruiters and hiring managers inside the companies that you want to work for. That doesn't take any time at all. You can do that in the same amount of time that you check your news feed on your favorite social media platform. So start to be creative. Start to think the thoughts that better serve you regarding time management and thinking of your job search like the job you really want. What if that's a 4-day work week? Give yourself that gift of creating the kind of job you want while you're looking for the job that will pay you what you want. All right. Let me know how it goes. Keep your chin up. You've got lots of opportunities. Don't forget that. All right. I'll talk to you again soon.
Hey, if you enjoy listening to this podcast, you have to come check out my Love Your Work Life programs on Teachable. You can choose from on-demand courses or personalized one-on-one coaching with me. We take all of this material and apply it so that you can live it and create the career you want. Because when you love your work life, all the other parts of life get better too. So go to Love Your Work Life Teachable as search terms, or love-your-work-life.teachable.com. I will see you there.